What is going on, guys? Brandon here. Tuesday, April 25th, 2023. First Republic down 40% to a record low after reporting massive deposit drop. And this is happening across the board. We've been talking about this for a while. So it's taking a toll on the markets and in the equity market. So it's spooking the equity markets. However, we have seen what is the true dog that wags the tail. We have seen the bond market respond a little bit to what's happening, and because there's all kinds of different stuff going on, basis point hikes, rate hikes going probably in the coming weeks here. It looks like probably 25 basis points. So still constricting, and this is the crazy part. When you're still constricting and we're going to get into the big three and the liquidity indicators here in a second to see what's actually going on, taking a temperature of the market. But when you see the rates continually rising, now again you have people with this inverted yield curve. You've got short dated bonds that are yielding whatever they are, 4 or 5 or 6% or whatever they are. You can go look at them, trust but verify here, right? But you say 5%, you're at 3 months or 6 months or a year, you can sit there and get that yield. But you're not getting that at banks. Again, there's not a lot of banks out there. Again, I'm not in the banking world that much because I don't trust banks. I don't keep much of my cash in banks because they're Ponzi schemes, for lack of a better story or lack of a better phrase, which we've articulated here for years, and you've seen over the last 8 weeks what they are, last 6 weeks, what they truly are. And when you have this dichotomy where the depositors are looking for yield. They're like, well, I've got my cash in this bank, but the bank's not even potentially solvent. It's not trustworthy. I don't know what they're doing with it, and they're not giving me any yield. So why am I risking my time and energy, the cash I have in there, that's what money is, a container for your time and energy. It's just that the fiat currencies we have are fiat and they're worthless. They have a hole in the side of that container, aka inflation, where you could hold Bitcoin, gold, and silver, where they're finite. Bitcoin is perfectly finite, and there is no hole. There's no inflation to it, and it accrues purchasing power over time because you can't print more of it. That is what people are asking. They're saying, well, why shouldn't I go somewhere else? Why shouldn't I take my deposits out now that are in this risky bank that's not giving me any yield? Why shouldn't I go buy an actual asset with it? And that's what happens in an inflationary system. People are forced to go out and out the risk curve, but also find different assets. They have to go hedge by finding assets to buy instead of just being able to save capital. And what it is now is people are going into bonds. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people going into bonds. You have a lot of, it's a liquid instrument. It's very easy to get in and out of, whether it's pensions, endowments, different funds, institutional, sovereign, yada, 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 ETFs, 401ks, all these different things. It's very easy to get in and out of bonds. So you see people moving into whether it's short dated bonds and in trying to get that yield, trying to capture something, even though inflation is really 15%, as calculated by the 1980 standards, which is what we've shown. We show this every month in our portfolio allocation letter. We show the actual inflation, what's actually happening, not the government reported BS. Again, you might believe the government numbers if you went to a government run school. I would venture to guess. And as you've said many times, Nolan Bowerley has said this a lot, and I've taken on this mantra as well. Again, follow the science is the stupidest thing you can do. I know many doctors in my life, friends, family members, doctors, things like that. Not to say that you can't follow the science, because following the science is very important in doing the scientific method and in finding actual truth and trying to discover what's actually happening. But if things are coming from government, the media, academia, institutions, you have to follow the money, not follow the science. That's, when Bill Gates owns 10% of the World Health Organization and he's giving his cash, and that's why he's able to go out and spout off like he's a doctor. Joe Rogan was trashed because he's not a doctor, so he's got to shut his mouth. But Dr. Tolbooth, Dr. Bill Gates, gets to say whatever the heck he wants because he owns the World Health Organization. He literally gives them 10% of their annual budget and their annual cash that they have. That's insanity. That's absolute insanity. And people are quite honestly being hurt. We're not going to even go down that road, but what's happening. People are being hurt, literally being hurt by people giving information and owning these organizations basically that have nothing but nefarious intentions, really, at the end of the day. And who knows? I don't know Bill Gates, but everything he's doing seems very odd. And we've chronicled that here as well. Whether it's owning farms, trying to put vaccines, mRNA into cows. Why are you continually trying to shove and inject and do things to our bodies? And again, it goes back to the Fabianists. It goes back to the Club of Rome. It goes back to all this anti-human movement. And again, this is a different topic for a different day. But my goodness, follow the money. Follow the money. This is what's going to get you much closer to the truth and make your life much easier, which is all we're trying to do here is question everything with boldness and remove ourselves from that system. There's a system being built over here to the side, a new parallel economic system in a deflationary world, which means your standard of living goes up, you have more purchasing power, and the old system, the fiat legacy inflationary monetary system that we live in now, with banking collapsing and the government's collapsing and massive debts, 31 trillion in debt, that's a path to hell. It's paved with great intentions, but it's going to hell because it's inflationary. It can't not go the other way. We do not get to accrue the productivity gains and the lower prices. That only happens with a sound money world, with a deflationary money world. That's why Bitcoin beats out gold and silver. Gold and silver was the best thing we had, but it kept getting centralized because that's the inherent problem with gold and silver. It's heavy, it's harder to move, you can't transport it across space instantaneously. Bitcoin solves all those problems. That's why we talk about Bitcoin so much here. And if you had the answer to all these problems, wouldn't you feel very obligated to then go talk about it at any given moment? When you see all the problems of the world and the central banking, the governments themselves, central bank digital currency, the slavery coins, the IMF going out and giving loans, economic hitmen, and giving loans and stealing resources from countries and enslaving countries, and people buying bonds left and right, which is literal enslavement for themselves, and they're buying their enslavement. They're literally buying a bond which it promises taxation of you and your children in the future. Wouldn't you, if you had something that solved all those things, would you or would you not go and talk about it all the time? That's a question that needs to be asked. So First Republic, the Ponzi banks showing massive hits, and we just explained why this is going to continue happening. This is going to happen. It's going to continue happening. And people are going to go find yield. They're going to go try to find yield and see what's actually moving forward. You know what? We're going to make a separate video. We'll make a separate video for the little market update. This will just be a video about First Republic and the banking, what's happening here. So this is going to happen. They're going to go find yield, and what happens is the higher rates suck more liquidity out of the banks. In the central banks know that. The Fed knows that. So why are they doing this? Again, they're trying to squeeze the middle class. They're trying to squeeze the middle class and the poor. So they want you on your hands and knees, begging them for bailouts, begging them for PPP loans, stimulus. Guess what? When you accept at the altar of the government and you're on your hands and knees at the teat, they have all the control in the world over you. That's exactly what we're trying to get rid of here. Your rights come from God. They do not come from government. You do not bow down to government. You don't bend a knee to government. That is not what we do here. That is not what life is about. We aren't put here on this earth to just walk around and do what governments and other groups of humans want us to do. That's not what happens. Your rights come from God. Government is there to work at the consent of the people and is there to protect those rights. Period. End of story. There is no argument. There's literally zero argument. Done. So this is going to continue happening. When you're raising rates, you're going to have more collapse. You're going to have countries collapsing. You're going to have more banks collapsing. As they continue raising rates, people are going to continue getting squeezed, and they're going to continue trying to find other places to get their cash out and go find yield somewhere else. This means now the banks will continue losing more of their deposits, so it'll collapse these smaller banks and community banks and credit unions, and it'll flow up to a few of the banks, the JP Morgans and the Citibanks, the Wells Fargo, stuff like that, these large commercial banks, because they want things centralized. They want to centralize things. This is the whole plan. They want more centralization. They can feel with things like Nostr and Zion and Bitcoin and all these platforms, all these decentralization of media, and Tucker Carlson getting ousted, and decentralization of media everywhere. Joe Rogan's on Spotify, and he's got the biggest consumer base in the world, or listener base. This ain't a legacy media anymore. The CBC and BBC and PBS, freaking out, losing their blue check marks and leaving Twitter. That's great. The legacy institutions are broken. They're busted. Banking, media, academia, those are going by the wayside. The internet is demonetizing all of it. You can learn anything. You can take MIT classes on YouTube. You can go learn about Bitcoin, the new monetary system. You can go build apps on the internet. You can go talk to each other censorship free on Nostr and Zion, etc. There's others coming as well. Start9's got operating systems outside of centralized control. So we have all these things now. The people are going away from command and control economies, and the governments, the people at the top who think they are the heroes in the story. They think they are protecting everyone. They think they are the heroes in the story, are truly the villains. And that's the most insidious part, because they will do anything to keep their power. And because they think they are the heroes, they will do anything to keep that power and crush the individual and crush the people around them, their citizens, because they're doing it, they think, at the guidance or at the asking, or they're doing it for their citizens. They think that they're doing it to save the citizens, and they're so benevolent, and they're so great, and they're blinded, right? Government blinds you to that. You're not incentivized to think clearly. This is not how this works, and we've known this for centuries and millennia. So let me know in your comments. Please share this out. The algorithm hates truth, so please share this out. It's the only way we're going to continue doing this. We're on Rumble. We're on other platforms now. We're starting to do things on other places and get decentralized. And we're on Nostr already, but we're going to be on Zion and building our content there. And Substack. We're going to be on Ghost eventually. So we're on Substack right now. So link in the description to the blog where you'll see our monthly portfolio allocation letter, our investment letter, where we 15x our net worth over the last 10 years because we take a contrarian approach, but also outside the system, controlling our own assets. And it's not as hard as you think. A lot of them are just bare instruments that just sit there, and there'll be different times to do different things, and we'll talk about that as we go forward. But this is the time they'll try men's souls, and this is the time, the chaos that is coming. It's time to get ready. Have some Bitcoin, gold, silver, food, energy, water, lead, ammo, firearms, security, land, and building community. Build community. It's the number one thing. If you do that, I promise you, you will feel confident. You will feel hopeful about the future. It's when you look at the news every day, it's hard to feel hopeful. But you have a shining light in your life, like God, for me, having God and a true North Star that never changes, and then Bitcoin fixing the money. Those two things in that order fix everything. They fix everything. If you had followed the 10 Commandments, we wouldn't have any of these problems. It wouldn't even matter. So everything else would be moot. And then if you fix the money, though, at that human level, and you fix the communication between people and price discovery and all communication with Earth, we're in a lot different world. We're in a lot different place. So I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you coming to my TED Talk. This is not financial advice. It's freedom advice. Question everything with boldness, even the existence of God himself. So this is the world we have in the fiat inflationary legacy system. If we continue down the same path, we must do something different. Otherwise, that's insanity, expecting a different result. I appreciate you guys. Please share this out because your algorithm hates truth. It truly, truly does. And check out our blog as well. I would love to see what you think there. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.